another week, another journey here on episode 45 of the Block to Block podcast, best podcast in the world for all things Web3. Here we break down the technology, what's going on in the market, and the ways in which you can benefit. I am NFT and Jai,
And I am Web3 Wayne.
and over here the talk is different.
Always different. And as y'all know, when we keep our talk different, we want to make sure we keep the talk the same week by week by letting you know that this podcast is for informational purposes only. By no means at all, are we responsible if you lose your cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, provolone. You want to know why? Because we want you to take this information and go talk to a professional, financial professional, or a financial advisor, and make sure you're getting the best advice for what you should do with your money. With that, let's get the file started.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started. But first, we must pay homage to the great city of New Orleans.
Yes,
Shout out to
sir.
New Orleans. Man, it was my first time in NOLA and it was a great time because we had our Simply New Orleans showcase with Mr. Out the Frame himself, Patrick Henry. A fantastic show. The love was crazy. The turnout was amazing. We had like 50 folks at one point, from the catering to just the curation of the artwork to just the vibes of the people we met. And shout out to Danica who won the raffle as well. She was super excited.
Shout out. Yeah. Shout out to our raffle winner. Yeah, I said we probably had upwards of like 75 people.
Right,
Maybe.
because throughout the day, right?
Yeah, that came through in total. The mayor kind of passed through a little bit. We
Mm,
had a real good turnout, man. It was really a good show. Shout out to Patrick. Shout out to Salon Studios and Canal Place. Definitely go check them out, y'all. It's not just an art studio. There is so many things in there from fashion. Shout out to Afri Modis to um, little trinkets to, men's fashion. There
mm.
was a fashion show a couple days after our show. So there's a lot going on over there at Salon Studios. Y'all definitely go check it out if you're ever in New Orleans.
Man, I definitely recommend New Orleans, from the people to the food. Oh, the food was so good and spicy. So shout out once again to New
Yeah.
Orleans.
If y'all don't know, Mamadou is constantly trying to see how he can kill his taste buds through spice. So I'm glad we lived up to his expectations.
Right. Yeah, shout out to Uncle Derek and the clan, man. Shout out to them. Yeah, but like I said, you may think we are slowing down with events because we've been doing a lot this year. But if you was a betting person, you would have lost your bet because next month here in Philly, we have
Right back at it.
we're right back at it with two organizations that we're partnering with. The BEX, which is a professional networking organization association out here in Philly that's been doing great things, and with the Corporate Creatives, a organizational platform that supports corporate employees who have that creative side to them that want to explore really building out their creative brand, right? We're partnering with them for a showcase on the 27th, which is like BBEX's BBEX plus art plus wine event. So it's an exquisite event that they have on a quarterly basis, in which they have local artists who showcase their work, in addition to just a vibe where everyone's networking, vibing out to music, getting to know people, a lot of camaraderie, and so it's going to be a goodie. So once again, July the 27th, we're going to have our next art showcase here in Philly. The Eventbrite will be in the description below. Make sure you come on out, check us out, and enjoy the vibe.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be a dope vibe. Yeah, we got Mama down here in New Orleans, so had to return the favor and say, hey, I'll come out there to Philly. So y'all come check us out. Definitely, it's gonna be a great time. Shout out to B-Beck. Shout out to Corporate Creatives. Really excited for the show, and quiet as it's kept, there's something special we got cooking up for that show. So y'all be on the lookout. If you aren't able to make it, definitely be on the lookout for some announcements from us about our platform, Timbucktoo, and what we got going on.
Yes, yes, man. Oof, y'all in for a goodie. But with that, we know you guys missed us. Before we even start, I do want to get, one sign of leadership, right? Is you have to be accountable. And with that, I must blame Web3 Wayne for making us miss our episode last week. Side on, just all joking aside, we did miss last week simply because it was just crazy coming down to New Orleans, doing everything with like organizing the showcase and whatnot. So we did beat our 44-week streak of back-to-back episodes on a weekly basis. However, we are back better than ever. We had great conversations about ways in which we can avoid this moving forward and to ensure that we give you all a better podcast experience. So it was a 1 week break, but we're back better than ever. So I just wanted to make sure we address the elephant or the whale, the crypto whale within the room before we move on.
You better man than me because I just been kept recording, been like 45 weeks straight. They can't stop us. 46 weeks straight. Listen, I count last week as a in-person block to block show, so the folks gonna have to deal with it.
Shout out to the subscribers. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share out with your loved ones.
Yes,
Love y'all.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. We love y'all so much. So we want to kick y'all off with another quick take. And today we'll be talking about Larry Fink's interview with Fox Business. We're in the softer stance towards Bitcoin. Hold on, I need to relocate right quick. Give me 1 second.
All good, all good. Sometimes you have to take commercial intermissions when it comes to the podcast, as it comes to the whole production standpoint. So with that, shout out to, once again, all you, the subscribers who've been tuning into our journey. It's definitely been a great one in which we've learned a lot within Web3. And we hope that you all have been learning a lot as well. Like, super excited for this quick take and just really the rest of the conversation. The big theme that we want you all to take away from episode is just really how just a lot of the innovative tools within Web3, such as cryptocurrency, NFTs, and more. And so, with the upcoming quick take and the other stories that we have for today, we're really going to be challenging or kind of poking holes at what is decentralization. Like, we know what it's been beforehand. What does it look like now? Does decentralization as a idea really hold up? And so that's what the upcoming quick take will get to. But Web3 Wayne, he's still down in New Orleans, so you got to bear with him as he's dealing with dogs and parents and whatnot.
And neighborhood kids and everything, man. Trying to find a good spot for the show. But we're all good now. I'm relocated back into the crib. Kicked everybody out the house. Told them there's a production going on. The folks need to hear about this story. They need the quick take. So let's get into it. So again, the quick take for the day is Larry Fink's interview with Fox Business and his softer stance towards Bitcoin. Surprise, surprise. So in an interview just weeks after BlackRock applied for a spot Bitcoin ETF, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, says Bitcoin is an international asset and that the role of crypto is digitizing gold in many ways. As Fink spoke about the ETF application, he mentioned how they're trying to make crypto more democratized and cheaper for investors. He goes on to recognize that Bitcoin is an international asset, that it's not based on any one currency, which allows it to represent an alternative that people can play into. But Larry was initially a critic of Bitcoin and crypto, stating it is a tool used to transact illicit activities. However, they now see the value. So currently, the SEC did say BlackRock's and other institutions' applications for spot Bitcoin ETFs were inadequate. However, they did work closely with NASDAQ, the exchange that would list BlackRock's ETF, and resubmitted their applications on Monday. So right now, only time will tell how the application will go. Nonetheless, the CEO of the world's largest asset management company sees a positive direction for Bitcoin, and that is our quick take for today. So, NFT and Jai, what do you think about Larry Fink's new stance on Bitcoin? And, what does BlackRock having this more positive attitude, what does that do for the crypto market? Is that something that bodes well, or is that something that we should be cautious about?
Yeah. Great quick take. So regarding Larry Fink's stance on Bitcoin, right? It's definitely positive from the standpoint of with institutions like BlackRock having quote unquote a positive stance towards Bitcoin and wanting to do things such as create ETFs where it's more accessible to your everyday investor. That does help in terms of overall crypto adoption or more so crypto exposure to the everyday American's asset portfolio, right? Now, there's a part of me that's a bit cynical about this more positive attitude because it's quite funny, right? Like, what, for like over 5 years or so, like since what, 2017, 2018, Larry Fink has been a huge proponent, right? Opponent, excuse me, of Bitcoin, saying that it's not really valuable. They don't really see the value. It's just a means to have these nefarious type transactions. So to do a 180 within this attitude, especially now that BlackRock's in a position in which they're, putting in these applications for Bitcoin ETFs, part of me is a bit cynical and I'm like, it's just all a ploy to, you know, weaken overall mass market attitude or really willingness to get into Bitcoin until they find a way, as the world's largest asset management company, to find a way in which they can get involved and put themselves in a position of power. But nonetheless, whether or not that's true, or maybe they've just seen more activity that put them in a more state of ease, what is that or that?
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, from a accessibility or mass market adoption standpoint, it is a positive for the overall crypto market.
Yeah, I mean, it's chestnut checkers, right? So I mean, the conspiracy comes out because I mean that's the smart play, and now they're doing a complete 180 and saying, hey, oh, this is this tool that's simply for this activities tool. Hey, this is digital gold that we're seeing. And I mean, part of it could have been, a lack of foresight, right? You have these big institutions. I think a lot of times they have a tunnel vision and they're siloed in how they're looking at things around the world. And as things develop and grow, they start to develop more ideas and start to see the light a little bit of like, oh, this is what this is actually going to be. This is what it actually is. And I think that, early Bitcoin was that, right? Early Bitcoin was, very, very anonymous. It was not super strong in terms of like its price point versus the dollar. Really, its main appeal, right, to a lot of people that used it was for illicit activities. But for those people who bought in early, and as other technologies, right, the greatest, flattery is imitation, right? And so this great technology, this great innovation was then imitated, and now we see all these imitations kind of driving up the price um, of that Bitcoin, and now it's like, oh wow, like we see this is everything that this technology can be, and so, well, I say the initial reaction being, this is for nefarious activity, being deceitful, probably not, but the continued rhetoric of that from Fink definitely was a bit deceitful. And it's something that we're seeing not just from him, right? We've seen that from Jamie Dimon. We've seen it from, multiple other CEOs of larger corporations who say, hey, this thing has no legs, this thing isn't going to last. And then at the same time, they're filing trademarks, and they have big crypto divisions, and they're doing a lot in the space without, I guess, giving their hand away, even though it's pretty much public knowledge. But most people don't pay close enough attention. So by you listening to Block to Block, you about halfway there and getting the inside. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, because we're gonna keep y'all in the loop. We're gonna keep y'all in the loop.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to your point about it's chess, not checkers, right? I think a huge takeaway for the listener is even if you don't necessarily believe in this newest trend or innovation, it does still work for your benefit to pay some attention to it. And in fact, even to develop contingencies as well, just in case whatever trend within your industry does take off. So you're not left behind in the wayside, right? Like think about those who, you know, in the early or late 90s and was hearing about the internet, for example, and like computers and what have you. And we're like, man, that's just a fad. Like, computers are only accessible to like people who have money. Like, I don't think the internet's going to really have any implication for my business. And now we're at the point where if you don't have a digital presence, whether you're a mom and pop store or a bigger company, you're losing out greatly by not having either social media, a website, or anything. So it just goes to show that you got to have those contingencies in place and that you do pay attention to trends and just think about how can this impact you, whether that's in your career, your business, or anything else of that nature.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Couldn't have said it better myself. So yeah, another quick take in the books. Definitely want to pass it back over to you, NFT and Jai. I feel like it's been a while since we've talked about NFT, so I'm excited about this next story. Let's give it to the people.
Yes, yes. This story is very important as we talk about NFTs because what we found is Nason, a digital analytics platform, released a report on Wednesday that states that NFT royalty payments have sunk to a 2-year low in June. So, just a quick review, with NFTs, right? These digital certificates on a blockchain that owns some sort of asset, they have a technology within them known as like a smart contract, which often says that whoever created this NFT, they will receive an automatic royalty payout anytime this NFT gets resold. And so what we've been seeing, especially when NFTs were all the craze a year or two ago, is that creators of digital NFTs, right, these digital artworks, were getting these nice royalty payouts of like 10%, 15%, or somewhere in that ballpark for these NFT collections that they made. Some of them were trading for millions or hundreds of thousands. And, they were getting a piece of that pie every time that NFT was resold. And so during the huge bull frenzy, if you will, of NFTs, royalty payments were at a peak in April 2022 at 28,000 ETH or $76 million in just simply 1 week of creators' earnings. Now they're at roughly 2,000 ETH or 3.8 million, which is a huge decline, right? Less than even 10% of the initial value. And so you may be asking, what's been contributing to really just this trend, right? And a lot of this has been contributed to the rise of Blur, which is an NFT marketplace which has these optional royalty payouts, right? And because of Blur having this optional royalty system, it really encouraged OpenSea, which is one of the largest NFT marketplaces, to really adjust their policies as well to compete with this. And so with OpenSea, their creator royalty earnings policy is now that for creators to get a royalty, they need to have some kind of on-chain enforcement method built within their smart contract. And if the creator doesn't have that built within their smart contract, then OpenSea would just default the royalty payout to only 0.5%, which is the standard rate that Blur came out into the marketplace with, 0.5%. And so now collect if you don't have those additional methods with putting in that language or that enforcement method, you're seeing a huge decline in your royalty payouts as a creator. Now, the caveat is that both platforms do allow collectors or the buyers of these NFTs to optionally adjust or add more to your royalty payout. So if I was a collector, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna add like 5% more to your royalty payout because I want to, help you out or support you as a creative. That is an option. However, it is not the trend. It's very uncommon for collectors to even do this. And so we've also been seeing a shift within NFT marketplace where royalties are either very low or some platforms do zero royalties, but they're incentivizing the trading of NFTs. Now, the one caveat too is these blue chip collections have been raking in millions in royalty payouts since their inception. So, like your Bored Ape Yacht Club, which has collectively made over 166 million in royalty payouts since they started out. But once again, this is really like your blue chip collections, right? Like the biggest names. But your average NFT collection isn't really trending in this direction. And so overall, we've been seeing just this disruption in the NFT marketplace space for creatives to really get royalty payouts on their work. And so with that, I just want to pose a question to you, with Wayne, of how does this news of these low royalty payouts, like what does this signify for the NFT market as a whole? And what can we, the viewers, take away from that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think that from our perspective, there is a certain way that NFTs have been looked at and used in its inception, right, and its most popular. And then there is the way that NFTs like inherently will kind of transform how business works, how collectibles, art, these type of spaces kind of work. So historically, right, when we talk about NFTs, we talk about these digital, artworks that have been using NFT technology as the backbone of it. It initially was looked at and used as something that was another trading mechanism, right? It was another branch of crypto that allow for people to, participate in some arbitrage. They can buy an NFT, resell it, make some money, and so on and so forth. Maybe some people would hold that NFT, and get some benefit from it if there was some utility. Some people would add it to their profiles and use it as PFPs to signify that they're on the in crowd with the
Right.
Web3 world. And so historically that was what NFTs were, right? It was a way for you to participate in this new innovative thing, this underground way to make money and to just be in the cool, be in the know. And with harder economic times, that means that you have to be a little bit more frugal with your money, a little bit more conservative. So we're not seeing new people coming to these spaces. We're also not seeing the traditional people that were playing in these spaces still in these spaces, right? Especially if they were in there just to make money, because the money is starting to dry up. The well is starting to dry up, right? So what we're seeing is now NFTs are transitioning into dogs over here going crazy. NFTs are now transitioning into more maturity in terms of technology and what it will be used for, right? And so I think this is where the historical is where NFTs got in trouble, and where we'll see SDC come in and say, hey, this is obviously a security, right? Like people are buying this expecting to make money versus When you look at NFTs as a collectible, that's when you get more into the commodity side, right? People are buying NFTs so that they can, signify, hey, I own this thing. It means something to me that I own this thing.
Right.
And you listen to what I just said, right? That was part of the previous iteration of it, but there was a lot of also the retrade value of it that was really an important piece of it. So we're seeing in its maturity, the NFTs is just going to be different. This really signifies the change and maturity of NFT technology. I think that we're not we're not saying that it's at maturity or it's going to be at maturity when this comes, when we come out of this season, but it is trending towards. I think it's very important to look at, hey, what do collectors think of royalties, right? We may see, in a year from now, and this is something to just keep an eye out on. A year from now, collectors may add some additional royalties to the payout of artists, saying, hey, this art has appreciated so much. I got to give a little bit extra to the artist. I mean, it's only right. Right. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out from a royalty perspective. Is there going to be some, increase in that payout? And yeah, I mean, that technology is just, something that we just need to keep an eye on. It's really signifying that change right now.
Right.
What are your thoughts on it, though?
Yeah. So I do concur with a lot of what she said around how the NFT market has to reach a point of maturity, right? And if the collectors are seeing this more so as a collectible versus a regular security like a stock where you are trying to make quick gains, I think that could bode in positively for the creative. One thing I do want to mention is for you, the creators who are like hearing these trends, don't discount the technology of NFTs or think NFTs are of no value, right? Yes, I do agree. 0.5% of a royalty payout is definitely trash. It's not great at all. However, it is still better than nothing. And remember, beforehand, creators were totally 100% excluded from the secondary market. This still allows from a bit of inclusion into that secondary market. And what I do want to drive is another use case of NFTs have been this really community building of the collectors. If so, really take this royalty payout situation as an opportunity to show to your collectors why they need to be, essentially compensating you more because they have the option to, give out more payouts. And what does that look like? How do you really how do you go about cultivating and fostering a community of your collectors to the point where one, they want to hold on for the extra long term and they're not just trading this as like a traditional short-term crypto, but they want to hold on for years to come. And two, in the event in which they decide to sell, perhaps they want to give you a bit more of that percentage simply because you was just such a value add, right? Being in your community was a huge value add. So I do want you all to view this as an opportunity to see how can you give so much value in which it just makes sense, as Web3 Wayne mentioned, for your collectors to say, you know what, I want to pay you more in the royalty payout because one, the price has went up buku crazy, and two, you just gave so much value. It's only right. And I do feel like we're part of a greater community, a greater ecosystem. So that's really my thoughts, right? Yes, it is a challenge, but it's also opportunity for the creatives of NFT who are using NFTs to like think more creatively and find ways to add more value.
Yeah, and to add to that, right, is like we're seeing this change. Like before, it was like a fixed royalty. Now
Mm,
we're seeing like there's a standard, and then you have the option. I think we're gonna see this royalty situation evolve again, right?
yep.
Like I think there's going to be another solution that comes about that encourages fairness in that royalty process, that royalty payout process. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love what you said about really kind of building that relationship with the collector community. I think at the end of the day, um, a lot of people that collect art, they, the artists have made them feel something, right? That's why they choose to buy. And so by cause and effect, right? They feel some affinity towards the artist, um, and so I think for the artist, you made a good point of like those collectors will probably be more on your side than you think in terms of the royalty aspect. It just would take a little bit more work on your end to actually communicate with them, to actually, and it doesn't have to be just you, right? Maybe there's a team that you're with, maybe you work with a collective of artists, maybe you work with an art gallery or somebody who is an art curator that can, help curate the experience. I think there's many different avenues where you don't have to be by yourself, and you don't have to necessarily do that work of like really building out the collector community and how they view you and your art. You can rely on some other people to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So actually, I got a question I want to pose to you before we jump into possibly the next topic. Because, I know you do have to do some traveling pretty soon, right? And bounce. Should we get into this controversial topic of whether or not DeFi is dead, or
Ooh,
could we use this as a redemption opportunity to get
ooh,
another episode, right? That could drop
okay.
like a couple days later before our regularly scheduled programming.
Oh, hey man, I think we should make the people wait. We should build up some expense, some suspense because this next topic is gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good one. I think all of y'all should definitely tune back in. We're gonna give y'all a surprise drop on a non-Thursday
Mm-hmm.
on this next topic. Uh, I think we could stop it right here and leave a little bit of suspense for the people. What you
Hey, you spoken, man. It's your show. I'm just in it.
think? Says the producer, man. Shout out to NC and Jai. We went 44 weeks strong because of him, putting in the work, producing the show, doing the notes, really getting us prepared, putting the order together, getting the guests together. Man, like shout out to you. Just want to, give you nothing but thanks and adoration for all the work that you put in for this show.
Appreciate
Uh, man, we took a little break last week, but I think, on our end, we worked hard for it. Now, we got a goal. We got something that we have to beat. So 45 weeks straight is the next record that we're looking to go for. But yeah, man, with that, I think that's the show for today. Web3 Wayne is checking out.
And I'm NFT and Jai.